Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Faith, and today I want to share with you a little bit about how I plan my homeschool year. So my method may not be for everyone, which is totally okay. To each his own. We're all different, we all plan differently, and that's totally okay. But I wanted to share how I plan so that if you're feeling like you are a slave to the schedule, that this might give you some ideas of how you can kind of work your way out of that. Or maybe you're just looking for a way to change up how you schedule because the way you're doing it or you have done it in the past is just really stressing you out. So to start off, I do not plan my whole year before we even start. I don't. I know some people really do, and that is great that they are able to do that. I just cannot be able to plan my entire school year before I even start. So I also don't have weekly folders that are in a tub where I have each week's worksheets already planned out, pulled out, and put in each weekly folder. I don't have that. I really don't. So instead of planning out everything from September to May, I actually just plan like a week in advance, maybe 2 weeks in advance. So I want to show you what I use to do it. So to start off, each kid has a binder, and I think this is just a 1.5 inch binder. Each kid gets to pick out their own color. So I have everyone pick them out, and in it, I just have let me see if I can get this in here for you. A very basic document that I have made myself. It is nothing fancy. I didn't buy it. I just made it in a Word document. And obviously you can see I have Monday through Friday listed, and it's not even dated. Obviously I date it as I go because that way I think I have like 15 copies ready to go that I can just put the date here. I put the month and the year up in the top corner. And then down on this side, you can see that I've listed just the different subjects that we intend to cover. And I also have a miscellaneous. Sometimes I put our field trips on there or trips to the library, just different things that I count as education that maybe aren't, traditional seat work or subject based. But this is what I'm using to plan. So one thing with it is, obviously, I haven't even started, so you can tell I'm not even a couple weeks ready. But when I do this, I use pencil. And I know some people will even use an erasable pen, which is totally fine, up to you and your preference. I use pencil because I don't want to be held to my schedule. I know things come up, I know things change, and I want to be able to erase it. So I will write in pencil, and I'll plan everything out for a week, maybe 2 in advance. And as I go, then I use a pen to scratch it out to show that we've completed the assignment, we've completed the worksheet, whatever it is. I just cross it out, denoting that we have finished it. Now, I do not plan out months in advance because when I'm doing it, I know that things are going to change. And I do not want that to stress me out. If within 2 weeks, if I had everything written out, typed out or written out, planned for the entire week, planned for the entire year, and then someone got sick or we decided to have a random park day or go on a random field trip that I had not planned for, I would feel like I was behind. And I don't like feeling that I'm behind. So because that would stress me out, I only plan a week or 2 in advance. Not only that, there are going to be doctor's appointments and sick days, and even more importantly is if my kid just needs extra work on a particular lesson or assignment and I did not schedule that in, it's important that we can be flexible with what our kids need and being able to adjust the schedule accordingly. So how I fill this out is on a Sunday afternoon or evening, I pull out my calendar. I'm looking at what I am doing for that week, maybe the next week. And then I'm pulling it out, looking at what we accomplished on the very last day. So for example, if on math on the previous week, if I saw that we finished lesson 16, obviously I'm going to start here on lesson 17. And I'm going to look at the week. Do we have any co-op days? Do we have any field trip days? Do we have any appointments or lessons? Things that are going to take up time in our day. If I do, I'm not going to schedule as much, or I'm not going to schedule anything at all, depending on what it is. So as I'm looking at my schedule and what I have on my calendar, I adjust it with what we're going to be doing. And I'll go 1 or 2 weeks in advance. And then if something comes up, then I'm only having to erase and adjust for maybe 2 weeks at most, instead of having to erase and adjust for an entire year's worth of plans. Now, once I've sat down and planned out what I have for each of these days, for Bible, math, their language arts, any grammar work they'll be doing, their history, science, or poetry, anything else extra that we plan on doing, once I've planned that out, I go and I grab these for each kid. Now, they've seen better days because I've used them for several years, but each kid has 5. I've got one for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And once I have them scheduled of what they're doing, if any of the worksheets pertain to each day, I'll go ahead and put them in each of their manila folders. Once the manila folders are stacked and ready to go, they each have a little tub that they keep in our schoolroom that matches. Obviously, this one's red as well. So this one is matching. I'll just go ahead and stick these in the front so that they know that these are the papers that they're going to be working on throughout the week according to which day's folder they're grabbing. So that's how I would get ready for just a week at a time. Now, just because I'm not physically writing out all the things that we plan to do for the year, it doesn't mean that I'm not mentally planning for what I hope to accomplish throughout the entire year. For example, I know that throughout the year, I want each kiddo to be able to get through the majority or most of their math curriculum. And while I don't know exactly what lesson they'll be doing on this day or that day, I can get a general idea. For example, if the math lesson or the math curriculum has 140 lessons, and I'm going to assume that we're going to do roughly 4 lessons a week, because I'm going to go ahead and factor in one day that we're not going to do it, that's either because of a co-op or a park day or an appointment. So that automatically brings us to 35 weeks of math. That's about 9 months. So if we're looking, that takes us from September to May. So here's my general idea. I have this idea that I'm going to be doing math from about September to May, if that's my timeline. If I want to start in August, obviously it's going to go from August to April. You can kind of adjust based on when you'd like to start and when you'd like to finish. Now, as we near the end of the year, I'm constantly assessing. I'm looking at what lesson we're on, out of how many we have left, and how much time we have left. Do I need to adjust how many we're doing? Do I need to do more? Do I need to do less? So that we can finish about the time that I had hoped to finish. So let me give you an example. This past February, we traveled to Louisiana to escape the cold, long winters of Ohio. And because I knew that we were going to be gone for almost 3 weeks of February, which again, another beauty of homeschooling is that you can pick up and go whenever you want. But that's a total sidebar. We decided that we were going to take this long trip and escape the brutal February winter. And so when we were looking at it and planning it in January, I knew that I didn't want to bring the books. I didn't want to be doing lessons while we were gone. So we assessed how long we were going to be gone and decided that we were going to add some extra lessons and extra days work when we were working in January. So we had a few double days in January to account for the lessons that we were going to miss in February. And that was because I was just constantly assessing of where we were and where I hope to be by the end of May. And you're probably wondering, why do you keep talking about math? We tend to do all of our subjects until our math is finished. If you've watched any of my previous videos on the curriculum choices that we have made, we use Abeka for the lower levels of language arts, and Abeka has a lot of lessons. Since we believe that learning happens in more ways than just sitting at a desk and doing worksheets, we tend to not do all of the lessons with Abeka. So when our math is done, we kind of call it quits with the rest of our subjects as well. Now, I do also have just a general idea of some of the things that we plan to do, whether it's in history or science and the books that we want to read. All those things, I have lists of books we'd like to read and how they correspond with science and how they correspond with history that because I have these lists, I don't necessarily mark in reading this page for this day and these pages and chapters for this day. We just try to squeeze in as many of those books as we can throughout our school year. And if we can't get them all in, that's okay. We can either read them over the summer or save them for another year. Now, lastly, I just want to share one other tidbit with you. As I'm planning this, obviously each child has their own binder, and you might be wondering, why would I waste my time in writing the grammar work and the history, science, poetry, and art for each individual child? Because if you watched my earlier video where I talked about our morning basket time, we're obviously doing all of these things together and they're all the same, which is true. But what I want to share with you is that this binder that I have for each child is my ready to go binder for our assessments at the end of the year. So in the state of Ohio, you can choose to have assessments or do testing. And up to this point, we've always done assessments. And the beauty about this is that at the end of the year, I'm all ready to go for my assessments. And I'll show you why. So this paper obviously serves as a record of every piece of work or assignment or lesson that we have done for the entire year, because I have one for each week. It's even going to tell me my field trips and trips to the park and nature walks, because I track that for each kid. So that's going to have their individual stuff. But in addition, you can see that I have these tabs here. I've got one for math and one for their language arts, where I'm going to be storing any tests or pieces of work that they're especially proud of. They're going to be stored in here, and I'm going to add them as we go. I'm not going to wait to the end of the year to where I'm rifling through all of their papers and all of their drawings and all the things that they're proud of. I'm going to do it as we go. Every few lessons, I'm just going to toss in a test or a worksheet to show that we're doing work all throughout the year. And then guess what? At the end of the year, when assessments come, it's already ready and you don't have to do anything. I end up just grabbing any extra notebooks or projects or pieces of artwork that they're proud of, and we grab our binder and those extra things, and we are ready for our assessments. All right, guys, hopefully you found this video to be helpful. My goal in sharing was not to stress you out, but to do the exact opposite. I don't want anyone to be a slave to this schedule. If you've tried planning out the entire year and that doesn't work for you, try something new. There are plenty of planners out there that you can find. Or if you're like me and you just can't find exactly what you want, you can always make your own. That's another great thing too, is that if you don't want to spend a lot of money on a planner, you're more than welcome to just make your own. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You just need a way to be able to plan what you want to do for each kid. So if you're struggling, if you've been stressed in the past, try a new method, try something different. There's no harm in giving something new a try. If you guys have any questions, I would love to answer them for you. If you have any recommendations for things to try, drop them below, so that might be helpful for other people looking for a new way to plan. And until next time, guys, have a blessed day.